Good afternoon from the National Opera Center in New York City. I'm Mark Skorka, president of Opera America, and I'm here with you for the August edition of our Good News Friday. Once again, I'm speaking to you from the National Opera Center, where this week we have started a partial reopening of the facility. We're open only for recordings, which we can do in a completely spaced way with the recording engineer in the control room and two singers here in the hall. We're open Tuesdays and Fridays starting in September for recordings. And we just look forward to giving it a shot and getting back to work a little bit. And it is a good news week for us when we can welcome artists back into the facility. So good news for us there. But the good news continues with the announcement this month of our innovation grants. Now, if you remember, the innovation grants, which are generously funded by the Anne and Gordon Getty Foundation, support experimentation and innovation in all areas of the opera business. Now, only some opera companies succeed in getting these grants, but we like to emphasize that every opera company can benefit from the learning that's generated from all of this experimentation and documentation. So we encourage you to stay tuned and to learn from the results of these investments in innovation. Many of you may have participated in the webinar earlier this week where we heard about the San Diego Opera Hack. Lots of great ideas that can benefit the entire field. But this year, we have a cluster of 13 companies that received grants, and I wanted to share them with you. American Lyric Theater received support for the Composer Librettist Development Program with an emphasis on supporting composers and librettists of color. The Center for Contemporary Opera received a grant for the creation of a sustainability director role to find ways to reduce opera's environmental impact. Eugene Opera received a grant to support students and faculty at the University of Oregon School of Art and Design and the artist collective Harmonic Laboratory in the creation of animated projections for the set of The Magic Flute. The Glimmerglass Festival received a grant to implement a 360-degree approach to EDI, including research, training, measurement tools, and a workbook to be shared with the entire field. Michigan Opera Theater received a grant for the creation of a new position. It's called the Lead Storyteller and Digital Media Specialist. The person will be charged with elevating the relevance of opera and dance in Metro Detroit. At Nashville Opera, their grant will support a partnership with historically Black colleges and universities to advance professional development opportunities for students and their alumni in opera. Opera Cultura received a grant for the creation of a song cycle entitled Mi Camino by composer librettist Héctor Armienta, inspired by stories of immigrant farm workers and day laborers. At Opera Memphis, their grant will support the interactive opera Queens of the Night and Kings of Light. It's a combination of live and digital experiences for children and adults based on multi-faction games where teams compete to win. At Opera Omaha, the grant will be used for the evaluation of the Holland Community Opera Fellowship Program to create a national template to measure the impact of civic practice work. Opera Saratoga will be able to expand the Memory Care Communities Program. It's in partnership with Songs by Heart, in which singers work with elderly citizens, specifically those with dementia. At Portland Opera, the grant will support the enhanced functionality of the Hampton Opera Center as an artistic hub to serve local organizations that have lost their performance spaces as a result of the COVID crisis. At San Diego Opera, we are supporting the Opera Hack 2.0, which will again bring together a group of technology experts in theater and opera to brainstorm and prototype innovative ideas. The In-Series in Washington, D.C. will use the grant for the creation of the Caldwell Dawson Resident Artist Program, a program for singers of color focused on partnering with communities of color to transform the company's work. So congratulations to all these grantees. We really look forward to learning from you as you implement these programs and evaluate them. But with me today is Hector Armienta, and I want to welcome him to the screen. because we just announced the grant to support the song cycle Mi Camino. And I wanted to speak with Hector about the inspiration for this song cycle. What motivated you to create this work about the immigrant worker experience, and how are you shaping the piece?
Good to see you, Mark, and thank you. And thank you to Opera America for the grant. I felt that it was important to hear from the voices of those that are, that provide us so much. Without them, we would not survive. I mean, those are the lives of farm workers and day laborers. And I wanted to provide an opportunity to raise their voice. So it's also part of a larger project that I've been working on called La Frontera, or the border. The first piece was called Cuentos, and that was focused on the lives of immigrants that had recently come, not recently, but had been in San Jose for a while. I felt it necessary just to be able to shape pieces based on their experiences, particularly in light of what's happening with COVID-19. And most recently, all the fires that have been happening in California, some of us have seen pictures of these farm workers working in the fields, here in California. And the backdrop is all this smoke that's being impacted with them, that they're being impacted by. And recently, we started the interviews, and I went to Gilroy, which is about an hour south of San Jose, where Opera Cultura is based. And it was quite an experience because I was there, and I was there to distribute flyers about getting interviews. And at this church where food was being distributed, it was a large parking lot. There were four rows of cars waiting to receive one box of food, frozen chicken, some produce. And I passed out about 100 flyers, and there were still people in the cars waiting to get food. So that is the plight of farm workers, and they don't have the opportunity to say, well, we don't want to work, or we're going to stay home. I mean, they're out there providing us our food. So
yeah. And Hector, I was going to ask you whether the story and the words are based on your observations or interviews. And I hear you saying that you've engaged in interviews to derive some of the material for the work.
Yeah, so we've been working with different community organizations, social service organizations that provide resources to them. One is called ALAS, which is based in Half Moon Bay. Another group is called Vegilution in East San Jose. And then Second Harvest Food Bank. So they've been working with us in identifying individuals to be interviewed. The challenge, of course, is that some of them aren't here legally, and so they don't want to be video recorded. So I was able to video record some of them. On Sunday, I have an interview with someone who will only be recorded by audio. And the goal is to use some of their text in the creation of these pieces, but more so their stories, to create some sort of semi-narrative about their experiences.
Wow, that's really fantastic. Do you have any sense of how long the song cycle will be? Is it just going to be for piano, or you have instrumental accompaniment?
It will be instrumental, maybe 3 to 5 musicians. The piece should probably be about half an hour long. I'm also thinking of integrating spoken text. One of the interviews that I did was of a family, and it was the father, the mother, it was the father, the aunt, and the aunt's daughter, who was 8 years old. And she was telling me her story about what it was like to work in the fields. And it was very powerful. I mean, the joy of an 8-year-old, but working sometimes, alongside her mother in some difficult conditions. Yeah.
Well, we really want to follow the progress of the piece. It sounds very powerful, very timely. And I just hope that you and all of your family stay safe from the smoke and the fire, as well as from COVID. It's quite a time for you in California. So Hector, thank you for being with us. Thank you for your good work. I should add that Hector has just been elected to the board of Opera America, and we're really pleased to have him around the table to help us move our work forward. So welcome, congratulations, Hector. I'm going to come back to you in a few minutes when we get to play our game at the end of the program. Thanks so much. So the good news continues, and we have some really nice reports from various of our opera companies, because part of the Good News Friday here is to let everyone know how much positive work is taking place in our field to keep opera moving forward, even though we are hampered by COVID and, of course, in the Midwest by the hurricane, for those who are in Texas and in Louisiana, and in California by the smoke. So there's still good news happening, and we want to focus on it. So the costume department at San Francisco Opera reached a benchmark. They've created 10,000 face masks for firefighters, social service agencies, and frontline medical staff. They are one of many companies producing masks: Minnesota Opera, Glimmerglass, San Diego, Houston, and others. So we're really glad that opera companies are helping out in this way. The Dallas Opera presented Terrence McNally with the Maria Callas Award posthumously, unfortunately, in recognition of his contribution to two landmark events at the Dallas Opera. Mr. McNally wrote the libretto for Jake Hagee's Great Scott, which received its premiere at the Dallas Opera, and he was a major creative force behind the creation of Heggie and Gene Shear's Moby Dick. Terrence leaves a great legacy to opera and to the cultural world at large, and I will say that the first time he visited the National Opera Center, he cried with joy that the opera field had a home here in New York. He was a wonderful friend, and we'll miss him. The Atlanta Opera announced the creation of the Atlanta Opera Company Players. The roster includes 12 singers, all residing in Atlanta and the Southeast, including Opera America anniversary ambassadors Jamie Barton and Morris Robinson. The singers will be joined by 6 members of Atlanta Opera's Studio Artist Program in a series of open air or online presentations. Lyric Opera Kansas City launched Soundscapes in the City programming with attendance at social distant capacity. Soundscapes in the City is a series of brief outdoor performances by the very best Kansas City singers. It features favorite numbers from opera and music theater. It's really good to see people experiencing live music. Opera Parallel is creating a shelter-in-place compatible graphic opera, which combines music with illustrations. Beginning with an excerpt from Everest, the story will be told through graphic novel-style illustrations and then cut to live singing for the arias. San Diego Opera has launched a binational initiative called Opera en tu Sofa, a 26-episode weekly video series featuring Hispanic singers from the San Diego region and Mexico in performance and in master classes. This new initiative is part of Opera en Español, a program that honors, values, and appreciates Hispanic musical heritage. Palm Beach Opera has partnered with local organizations for a second session of the Interability Chorus. What this is an ensemble made up of adults with disabilities and special needs. Instead of a live performance this time around, though, the Interability Chorus recorded a collaborative digital performance of This Is Me from the popular film, The Greatest Showman. Good news for aspiring producers. Beth Morrison Project launched its first ever Producers Academy to help shape, nurture the next generation of producers and opera administrators. Over 700 people from 19 different countries signed up for a week of workshops. And now Beth Morrison Projects is leading an 8-week course for 30 people in order to provide individual attention and instruction by industry experts. Lyric Opera of Chicago's seating renovation project is officially underway. In the last 2 weeks, all of the seats on the main floor of the Lyric Opera House, and you know there are a lot of them, were removed, and the installation of 1,200 new seats has begun. It's a great use of the downtime caused by the COVID crisis, so the opera company is moving forward with this renovation of their facility. And finally, we highlight a fundraising program that's also greatly collaborative between Austin Opera and Houston Grand Opera. The two companies reached out to Central Texas philanthropists Sarah and Ernest Butler to support digital co-productions between both companies taking place this season. The companies received $1 million to underwrite the initiative, which will include performances at drive-ins in Austin and will be distributed through HGO's new relationship with Marquee TV. So that's some of the good news for today, but you can look to our social media for additional good news, and please keep us informed of your good news. You can share it with us by going to goodnews@operaamerica.org, and we will be really delighted to include your news in our program. Now, it's a great pleasure to announce the launch of yet another program at Opera America. And once again, a review of our data revealed that there is another inequity in opera that needed to be addressed. The proportion of female stage directors and conductors working in opera houses is very low. And it's low for the smaller companies and even lower for the larger companies. So just as we've done to try to redress the imbalance in our field among female composers, we are fortunate to have a new program to intervene in this area. The new opera grants for female stage directors and conductors will help our opera companies recruit and hire new female conductors and stage directors. The project is an outgrowth of the vision of Sue Marino. Sue is the outgoing president of the board of the Santa Fe Opera. She's a board member of Opera America, and she realized the dimension of the problem from her own communication with artists and approached us to see whether or not we could design a program, and we have. You'll be able to learn more about this program very shortly, taking a look at our website. I'll get you that URL in a second. But in the meantime, what the program will do is it will cover up to 50% of a stage director's fee or a conductor's fee, a female stage director, a female conductor, up to 50% of the fee if that artist is working with your opera company for the first time. So the burden is on you to find talented new female stage directors and conductors. And through this grant, Opera America will help you pay their fees so they can climb the ladder and make our art form stronger. Well, I'm delighted to welcome two people to chat about this today, stage director Shadi Ghaheri and artistic director of Opera Parallel and wonderful conductor Nicole Paiment. Welcome to both of you. And I want to start with Nicole, but I want to start by apologizing because when we were celebrating 10th anniversaries back in June, I bounced right over Nicole's name and I felt terrible. So congratulations on your 10th anniversary, which is also the 10th anniversary of Opera Parallel, of course, which you founded. You have been involved, Nicole, with the Dallas Opera's Heart Institute for Female Conductors for several years. At the company, you're the principal guest conductor. And on a personal level, of course, you started your own opera company as a way to build your career and your visibility in the industry. So why do you think women, female conductors have encountered barriers? What are those barriers and why do you think they exist?
Well, I think that, conducting opera is a very different thing than conducting, and I think the barrier is greater with operatic conductors than it is for symphonic. And I think that the multidisciplinary aspect of opera and the kind of leadership that is needed for conducting of opera is perhaps a little bit jarring for companies. It is a big responsibility, and perhaps it goes far beyond the idea of being a great musician. It has a much, and so I think that's probably why, that's maybe one of the reasons why. But music conducting is a very long tradition and women have not been part of that tradition. So it takes time. Things change slowly, but they do change. And I'm actually, this wonderful news today of this grant is yet another step to show that we are moving in the right direction. And if we are looking at the numbers, they might still be low, but they're growing, and that makes me very happy.
Yeah, and we want them to grow still further. So when opera companies are thinking about where they can see potential conductors for opera, should they look at local chamber orchestras, go to the local symphony concert? How do you discover new female conductors?
There are so many opportunities now. Are absolutely no reason for not finding women conductors, because there are many young women that are interested. Of course, as you mentioned, the Heart Institute at the Dallas Opera is probably in the leading institute in United States, but there are also the League of American Composers that and orchestras that have lists of women conductors. There are many institutes that are starting to develop programs that are very high level programs, the New York Conducting Institute. There are European organizations that are starting to develop programs. There's a great one with the Royal Philharmonic Society Women Conductors program. Even l'Académie du Festival Aix-en-Provence now has a sponsorship. So many organizations are developing programs for that. So you could look that way. Also, rosters of most agent now have fine women conductors on their roster. So talking to agent, looking at opera companies, looking at their guests, you will be surprised to see that many now opera companies have on their roster for the year the name of one of their female conductor. So the network is large, and it's not hard to find.
It is only hard to overcome inertia from the inherited tradition, and I think that's then on us, given all the talent that is available to us.
You know, Mark, the thing about it is that, especially now, right now, when we are in a period where there's so much uncertainty, we have a tendency to want to be safe in what we're going to do, just because everything else seems unstable. And so the normalcy will be to go and look at conductors that are known, or that perhaps are safer to hire. But I do think that with these kinds of grants, it's reminding all companies that the effort is worthwhile. And I am convinced that this grant program will help the cause.
Well, Nicole, thank you so much, and congratulations on your great career. Now, Shadi, your career in opera is sort of really taking form, and then this interruption from COVID, unfortunately, and canceled engagements. Tell us, how did you get your early directing experience?
Hi to everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here with you all. And I say hello to everyone who's watching this. I mean, I think if I want to tell you about how directing comes to my life, it goes like way back to when I was still living in Iran as an actor and director. I worked in Tehran, Iran, and found my way to America to get my education and my MFA through directing. So the answer might be the best version of it, a lot of experience and working, working and learning what is directing. And then later on was, more of a graduate school that we get to really practice different versions of directing, from opera, as might be the reason that I'm here, and to many different theater styles, from new plays, classics, and dance pieces.
So now I know that you have won our Robert L.B. Tobin Director Designer Showcase Prize, so congratulations on that. But I know that you had some projects lined up, and unfortunately I think that some of them have been suspended. What were you going to be doing for which companies?
From April to this December, I think I lost 6 productions, and unfortunately many of these productions are produced by myself and a very independent group of artists and my collaborators, that it feels like kind of impossible to ever pick it up again, because we're going to go to a very different world. And some of the productions that I have I will say translated today to virtual settings. So I am doing 2 shows for universities right now. One, I am right now in rehearsal, and after this will go to my rehearsal, and the other one coming in September. And both of them are going to be on platform like Zoom, with a lot of work and preparation with technical designers, and using other platforms like vMix to just to just do the simplest things that we do in rehearsal rooms, such as moving an actor from one part to the other. And now we have to deal with like basics of acting, unfortunately, in this new world, which is imagining someone's on your right, someone's on your left, but actors are in these empty rooms alone. And I think all of this is changing fundamentally what theater was and what will be right now because of these details. It is fascinating. It is very challenging.
Yeah, so much has been erased in terms of the patterns of activity. We'll just see how we invent and fill the creative blackboard with more as we come out of this COVID crisis. Well, we wish you the very best of luck and look forward to following your career and seeing what projects you're taking on. Thanks for being with us today. And again, you'll hear more about this new program in support of female conductors and stage directors at operaamerica.org/grants. That's where all of our grant information is available, and we'll post information about this project there very soon. operaamerica.org/grants. But now we're going to welcome Hector back, and we're going to have our the game show portion of our afternoon. And here's how it works. Today we're doing Name That Opera. And I'm going to read 3 clues about recent operas of note. And someone just let me know in the chat that Hector does not have any sound. So I'm here with Nicole and Shadi, and we'll work on it until Hector comes back. When you know the work that I'm talking about, write down your answer on a piece of paper. After the 3rd clue, when you've guessed your best guess, I'll ask you to hold up the paper and we'll see if you've got it right. Now, you may not know the answer to the puzzle. And quite honestly, when I took the quiz, I couldn't get a couple of them. But if you can't answer what opera I'm talking about, write down on the piece of paper a new American opera you think we should be talking about, and we'll put it on our roster for further discussion down the road, okay? So the first one is, this opera is by composer Mason Bates and librettist Mark Campbell. It received its premiere at Santa Fe Opera in 2017. Its recording won the 2019 Grammy for Best Opera Recording. This opera follows the personal struggles and professional accomplishments of a tech visionary. If you're having trouble naming this work, there's an app for that. And if you get it right, I'll send you an apple as a prize. And don't worry, no jobs are at stake here. So do you know the name of the opera? Hold it up. Higher up, Shadi, so I can see it in your good. The Revolution of Steve Jobs, Steve Jobs. Hector, did you have a chance to join us and hear the puzzle? Okay, we'll go on to the next one. Well done, both of you. The opera, with music by Terence Blanchard and a libretto by Michael Christopher, received its premiere in 2013 at the Opera Theater of St. Louis. Based on the life of a closeted boxer and his career in the 1960s and 70s, this work explores the complexity of identity and guilt. The title of this work is synonymous with a winner. So, Shadi, champion, Nicole, you're right. Hector, do you have your piece of paper up so I can see it? All right, well, it is The Champion, and thank you so much. It's about the boxer Emil Griffiths, and a wonderful piece. Third one. This chamber opera by composer Missy Mazzoli and librettist Royce Vavrick is based on the 1996 Academy Award-winning film by the same name, and it premiered at Opera Philadelphia as part of O16. Set in the 1970s, in this opera, the woman explores her sexuality as an expelled from her community after her husband becomes paralyzed in an offshore oil rig accident. Work is set off the coast of Scotland, and its title evokes the image of the sea crashing on the shore. Do we have some guesses for this one? Breaking the waves from Shadi, absolutely breaking the waves. Nicole, you got it. Well done. Well done. Breaking the waves. So number 4, this work with music by Jose Pepe Martinez and a libretto by Leonard Folia was billed as the first mariachi opera when it premiered by Houston Grand Opera in 2010. In this work, we follow the story of the son of a Mexican immigrant as he uncovers the story of his family, their struggles, and their loss. The title of this work references an ensemble number from the opera where the mariachi band tells the story of a boy watching a swarm of monarch butterflies as they pass between him and the luna. And the moon. Any guesses if this one is? Hector, hold it. Yes, cruzar la cara de la luna. Well done. Now the last one, number 5. This opera, with music by Jimmy Lopez and a libretto by Nilo Cruz, premiered at Lyric Opera Chicago in 2015. It's based on a best-selling novel of the same name by Anne Patchett. Her novel would also inspire a 2018 film starring Juliana Moore. In this work, we follow the story of an opera singer invited to perform for the birthday of the chairman of a large Japanese corporation when the guests find themselves held hostage together for over a month. The title of the work is a nod to a style of operatic singing and translates to beautiful singing in Italian. No, the music is not by Bellini or Donizetti, but it's by Jimmy Lopez. Any guesses as to what it is? Bel Canto, Bel Canto. You got it, Bel Canto by Jimmy Lopez with libretto by Nilo Cruz, a wonderful piece. Well, I think everyone got every answer right. So we'll check the chat to see if our audience did as well. We're gonna end with a musical excerpt. So I'm gonna say goodbye to our guests now. Shadi, Nicole, Hector, thank you so much for being with us. Have a good rest of August before we slip into the fall. Stay safe in every way possible. But now we're going to once again end our Good News Friday with a bit of music. And today the selection is a clip from a workshop of M. Butterfly that was conducted by the Santa Fe Opera. The opera is by Huang with a libretto by David Henry Hwang. And in this excerpt, it's titled Awoke. The butterfly is sung by Kangmin Justin Kim, and we're delighted to have this music for you to end our Good News Friday this August. To everyone, I say, I hope the end of the month is a safe one, a good one. I hope we're able to get a little bit of rest before a busy and unpredictable September. Thanks for being with us. Be with us again at the end of September for that Good News Friday. In the meantime, be well. Thanks.
Where do fine.